The regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District is now called to order. It is Monday, November 2nd, 2020. It is 5:15 p.m. Joanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ernst?
Here.
Commissioner Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Rollins?
Here.
Commissioner Vogelsang?
Here.
And Commissioner Wright?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Before we get started, I'd like to have our general counsel explain the hybrid meeting that we're going to have this evening. Mr. Horowitz, would you take the floor, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Board members. Can you all hear me?
We can't hear you.
Muted. You hear me now?
No. No.
See, if I speak without the microphone, can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you again. Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Again, it is November 2nd, and we're here this evening in the Willow Theater. We know that as of November 1st at 12:01, order 20-69 expired. That was the order that we've been operating under for the past approximately 7 months. And what that order did was it allowed local governments such as our district to meet without the requirement that a physical quorum be in the room. With the expiration of that order as of Sunday morning early, what it means is that in order for the district to conduct official business, we would need a physical quorum of our commission in the room. We currently have 3 of our board members here and 2 of our members are attending virtually. The order, what it did was it waived the quorum requirements. It did not waive any of the requirements of the Sunshine Law. So in other words, the Sunshine Law we know requires that notice of all of our public meetings be posted. It requires that minutes be taken, and it also requires the public to have an absolute and unequivocal right of access to all of our proceedings. This evening, we're in a public building. The meeting room is in fact open should a member of the public want to physically be in attendance this evening. We've also, as Brianne indicated, provided a hybrid model, which while we're currently meeting in person physically, we also are broadcasting our meeting over Zoom. So any member of the public who would like to attend our meetings virtually, as we've been allowing and conducting for the past number of months, is still an option. And our notice continues to include all of the appropriate access points for Zoom meetings so that the public now has 2 options. Should they want to attend and participate in our meetings, they can either physically attend this evening in the Willow Theater, or they can dial in or Zoom in as we've been doing for the past number of months. That's a new process that we're continuing to operate under.
No. Can't hear him now.
Unless the
At all.
government takes additional action to otherwise modify the rules as they relate to public meetings.
I was back again.
Thank you, Mr. Horowitz. Okay, commissioners, are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, it's time for public requests. Brianne, do we have any emails
No, we do not.
about hands raised?
I actually have Melissa's hosting, so. I see Raul has his hand raised right now. Raul, if you want to unmute yourself and speak.
Please give your name and address, Raul.
Sure. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon, commissioners. This is Raul Travieso, your favorite and constant USA Pickleball Florida Southeast District Ambassador and President of the Boca Raton Pickleball Club. I live at 1037 West Royal Palm Road. On behalf of the hundreds of pickleball players and their families, I wish to once again sincerely thank each of you for making lighted outdoor pickleball a reality in Boca Raton. And we are especially pleased that the commission has elected to fund 6 courts rather than 4. We are extremely excited to have courts in Boca that can be used every day, day and night. We know that tonight you will select the best bid for a 6-court complex. I just want to say that my phone has been ringing off the hook with players asking me when the courts will be open to play. The courts at Patch Reef Tennis Center will be extremely popular and will be busy with lots of players, including families, kids, adults that work, and like me, that are retired. In closing, I wish to express that we are extremely grateful that this commission recognizes the exploding growth of this sport and the demand to provide additional courts. And the special thanks to Commissioner Ernst for his advocacy and support of the sport of pickleball in the city of Boca Raton. In the near future, we can entertain and discuss additional courts at Ocean Breeze or the Spanish River Athletic Complex. Again, commissioners, thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Raul. Melissa, are there any other public requests that with their hands up, or someone just entered the theater? So would that lady like to speak?
Do you want to speak?
Okay.
I don't see any hands raised. There's no hands raised.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello.
Sounds like Harold Chaffee wants to
It's-
speak.
Mr. Chaffee, is that you?
Yes, it is.
Hi.
How you doing? A little confusing, but the only thing is there a follow-up on the investigation as far as the deed restriction, also the ILA? Are you going to bring us up to date on those 2 items that was in the last board package?
Our district council will be addressing that later on in the meeting under the first item of regular business.
And also, was there any, I guess, was there any attempt or do we have any meetings set up with Brianne with the city to discuss the ILA?
Brianne will also address that during the first item of business.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other hands raised?
Greg Galanis says he wants to speak.
Okay, Greg.
Hi, guys. Good evening. Greg Galanis, 1780 Southwest 22nd Ave, Boca Raton. Continued thanks for all your efforts and time invested in this golf course thing. Very interested in hearing what Jacob and Merv may have learned about the legal aspects, but our opinion is you guys have the right to do whatever you want on the east side without anybody's approval. And our hope and wish is that you guys have the courage and the conviction to do the right thing and move forward immediately with the east side as it has been designed. And representing the golfers are committed and excited and interested in the par 3 executive course, in addition to the practice area, as the new course that will come into play October 1 of next year will be very limited in terms of practice facilities. In addition to the fact that the golf industry, since the pandemic, conservatively is showing growth north of 20%, having a safe recreational outdoor activity that they can play. Anyways, I'll close with that and look forward to hear what our attorneys have to say.
Thank you, Greg. It's good to have you back. Any other hands raised?
No.
No? We'll just give it just another second in case somebody is having trouble getting in. Okay, public requests are now closed. It's time for the approval of the regular virtual meeting held on October 19th, 2020. We would like a motion to approve the minutes of that meeting, please.
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Commissioner Rollins seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes,
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
thank you. Okay, on page 8 of your agenda packet is the first item of regular business, which is the Ocean Breeze discussion. Brianne, would you like to start us off and answer Mr. Chaffee's question about the meeting?
Sure. Commissioners, after our last meeting, I reached out to the Deputy City Manager, Mike Wika, to set up a meeting for Jacob and myself to meet with him and the city attorney. Unfortunately, there was no time frame that worked with the city staff. They have a lot of things on their plate right now. Jacob did have a conversation with the city attorney. I did have conversations with Mike Wika. I hope eventually we can get to a point where we can talk about it as you guys directed. If there's another direction you'd like to take, I'm open to that as well.
Mr. Horowitz, would you answer the other question about the deed restrictions, please?
Thank you. Can you hear me better now by chance on the microphone?
Yes.
You can. Okay, there you go. Thank you. To Mr. Chaffee's question, and just for reference, we have had an opportunity to look at the deed restrictions quite a bit. The city attorney's office had prepared a legal memorandum back in 2017 regarding the city's options as it relates to eminent domain. And within that memorandum, there were a few lines with regards to the deed restrictions. We did have an opportunity to speak with the city attorney, as Ms. Harms indicated. We also have done our own independent research and are in the process of finalizing a legal memorandum that we'll be preparing for the district in the next several days. There is a Supreme Court case from in the early 80s out of Manalapan, which is the 4th district, which is our district, that suggests that restrictive covenants affecting the usage of land do not apply to public bodies which acquire that land by purchase. So there is some significant case law from the Supreme Court of our state which suggests that those deed restrictions would not apply to the district. That does not mean that any action the district were to take that would be in conflict with those restrictions would not be subject to scrutiny or potential risk for the district. But again, we're fairly comfortable based on the Supreme Court decision that there is some flexibility for the district to utilize the golf course property for reasons other than golf course. But again, we'll be memorializing our opinion in a written memorandum in the next couple of days.
Thank you, Mr. Horowitz. Commissioners, I'll start with you. Commissioner Ernst, would you like to weigh in about the ILA and any other options?
Sure. As we discussed before, the city is in the process of acquiring the Boca Country Club. So that does not close until October of next year. And in the meantime, we have a permit or a plan with the city. My recommendation would be let's just make it as easy as possible for all of us. And I would propose that we amend the current interlocal agreement dated February 2nd, 2018. Basically, a very simple amendment to suggest that we are going to look at additional options other than golf, but it may include golf. But we would like to explore additional options with the city and just make it very simple to remove any kind of the interlocal agreement restriction to give us a little more time. And that would be part one of it. The real work begins with getting our group together, as well as the city officials and the community, more importantly, the community, to call for ideas and discuss them. And it may include a short course or what we've already designed on the east side, but let's get everyone's opinion on it and get more feedback from the community and everyone else to find the best use of the overall property. So my recommendation would be is to make a motion for amending the current interlocal agreement, that the district develop that amendment and we provide it to the city for additional feedback. Just very simple.
Okay, are you making an motion right now, or should we get everybody else's input before we start?
Let's get everyone's input.
Okay, Commissioner Engel.
Yeah, it's my impression that the interlocal agreement only covers the west side of the golf course.
That's correct.
Now, okay, so we don't need, if we want to develop the east side of the golf course, we don't need to amend the interlocal agreement. Am I correct?
We need access to the irrigation on the west side.
Okay, so in effect, we still need then the city's approval for anything we do on the east side.
The west side and the east side, yes.
Okay, so, yeah, I think it'd be a good idea to involve the community. Do we need an amendment? Yes, we do, but I don't think that it's up to us to provide that amendment. That would be something I would leave in the hands of our legal counsel, working with our executive director and their counterparts with the city. Because I don't think, frankly, that if we put together an amendment to the interlocal, that the city's going to accept it as is.
Well, the council needs our direction. They cannot just do an amendment without our direction.
So I would amend Craig's amendment to read, not that we are going to amend the agreement, but that we're going to work with the city to amend the agreement.
Okay. We got to get a meeting first. Okay. Commissioner Rollins, would you like to give your thoughts?
Yeah.
You're on mute.
Can't hear you.
Are you muted?
No, he's not muted.
Yeah, Commissioner Wright, why don't we get your opinion and then we'll get back to Commissioner Rollins.
Yeah, so Craig, basically you just wanted to have the attorneys work with city attorneys to make an amendment to open it up to other options other than golf in terms of recreation.
That is correct. And my suggestion is that we take the initiative to develop the amendment just to expedite it and get
Agreed.
the process going.
Yes, I mean, they have lots of other things on their plate, totally agreed. The only other thing I would add in would be I mean, we paid 50 grand for a needs assessment, right? For what's happening with Parks and Recreation, what's needed, what people want, that kind of thing. A lot of times at our meetings, we don't get the input from other people necessarily. So I think we should take that into account and really look at the needs assessment. Once we haven't really received the final report on that though. So maybe we can get that from the city so we can look at that and see what other things are wanted and needed by the residents too. But I agreed with what Craig wants to do with the ILA, the amendment.
Circumstances have changed since the needs assessment was put out for the public. And I really think that we should have as many charrettes as possible to get the public's opinion or have them write in, email, whatever.
Agreed, but the needs assessment wasn't just on golf. It was about all things Parks and Recreation that are liked about the city and not liked about the city, what they need. I think it would be a really good thing to have looking at this property to see what we can do with it.
Well, I agree. And I'm not pushing golf. I'm pushing that more community input now that we have all these extra acres that we might be able to do something with. You know, maybe other people will think outside the box for us. Commissioner Rollins?
Yep. Am I on now?
You're on.
You're on.
Well, first of all, if you're looking at the ILA that we have, it has on page 3 of the ILA, it says purchase the district desires to purchase the property from the seller for development of recreational and related facilities. That doesn't seem to restrict us to golf, even though that was our intended purpose, as it's pointed out. I do think that we need to provide some direction. I think in our last meeting, we suggested that Brianne and one of our representatives, whether Jake or Sam, accompany Melissa or Brianne to the city to talk to city manager, the city attorney, whatever, to come up with some suggested changes to the ILA. I personally don't feel appropriate to discuss changes in the ILA in an open meeting like this. Not that I don't want to be transparent, but I would like for us to provide ideas to Brianne on things that they might be able to negotiate as improvements to the ILA, such as, you know, a way to terminate. The thing that I'm interested in too, while we're talking about this ILA, is and going back to what Craig said once about getting a bond rating. What's the possibility of the interests of the district and refinancing the bond and taking the city out of the equation? And then I'm not saying we would effectively be able to wouldn't have to wait for anybody's approval except for perhaps zoning and permitting in order to get the project going. The other thing that I think that we need to think about is that with the potential Clintmore extension, that's going to divide that piece of property in half, which I think is a handicap to us in developing anything over there. I know we had squeezed that in, but I know if Greg Galanis is listening to this, I've checked with, or had Brianne and Melissa check to see what the size and scope of the executive course at Boca Muni is, and it would not fit in that north portion of the east side of where we had planned that what I'd describe as a pitch and putt type of a course. I think that the users of that executive course out there need something a little bit more challenging than what was designed by our architects. Now, it could have been part of a learning center, but I think we need a larger space to accommodate a little bit bigger footprint based upon a conversation I had with a golf expert, Rick Hurd. So I think there's a number of things that we need to consider. Going back to Sue, yeah, we need input. I'm not totally confident in the needs assessment because it's been so long in the making. I'm not sure I understand why we haven't received that. Everybody else seemed to work through the pandemic successfully remotely, and I don't know why the city is hesitant to roll out that needs assessment for us to give us an idea, not necessarily just what we need at Ocean Breeze, but also other park facilities that individuals might want. And I'd like to know more about the survey as to who it went to and to gauge the accuracy of that needs assessment. So to your question, I liked Craig's motion. I like Steve's amendment. I do think that we need to get Brianne and Sam or Jake over to the city to talk about changing the ILA. At the same token, I'm quite curious as to what the financing might look like if we were to go out and try to borrow the funds to reimburse the city for the loan. Might be interesting to find out. I think our interest rate was it 4%, Craig?
It's about that.
Yeah. And I think the rate might be a little bit lower than that right now, but it'd be worth exploring. Just throwing that out there.
Greg, where would we start with that?
The refinancing?
Mhm.
I think, well, first of all, I think it was a city issued bond. So I'm not sure what the total, we're just a beneficiary of it indirectly. So it's not specifically for us, is my understanding. So we would have to explore that a little bit more. I'm intrigued with the idea, Bob. I would say that. But I guess I want to go back to why we're doing the interlocal amendment. And to make it very simple, is my understanding was we submitted plans for a golf course to the city and we can't exactly withdraw them right away. So rather than opening up the whole interlocal agreement for a lot of different things, just kind of step back from everything and say, the only reason we're doing an interlocal amendment now is just to say we're going to explore other things beyond golf and we're going to take a time out. And from my perspective, I think the most important thing we can probably do is expedite the community and review process so we can get additional ideas and make a decision. And my suggestion would be is that we try to expedite that process with the city, because I think they are interested and they should be, because we are the ones who bought this golf course on their approval, I should say. And we've kind of come to the conclusion we can't have two golf courses within a couple miles. So I'm confident that the city would like to have a park. I think we would like to have a park as part of it. And to me, we really should get going on getting the community involved and understanding whether we're going to have a short course, whether we're going to have a driving range or not, or there are other options. But let's get all the ideas on the table with the city and decide on it. That's going to take 6 months to a year. And of course, we should take into account the needs assessment. It's just another factor in the whole thing. But ultimately, the elected officials need to decide what's going to happen to the 212 acres. And honestly, another option is part of it may be land bank. It could be a very nice forest along parts of it. I don't know. But I think we want to expedite this process for the residents of Boca Chica.
Would you like to make a motion?
I think Mr. Rollins wanted to say something.
Okay, Bob.
Yeah, I just want to follow up, Craig. I think there is an option in this ILA where we can pay off the cities. We can pay the city back the money and allow them to extinguish the bond if that's something that we elect to do somewhere along the way. And I think it's something we need to consider at some point based upon whatever the interest rate is in the market. But I do agree, Craig, that the elected officials, meaning the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District, should have a major say in what goes on in on the Ocean Breeze part, since it's a property that we stuck our neck out and purchased with the help of the city. And I think that we need to have public input. And I think once we've got the input from the public, then we, whether it's 6 months or what length of time it is, then we can go back to the city perhaps and make some changes to the ILA. But I think we need to start moving forward with some discussion with the public.
All right. Can I add to that though, Bob? I really think that the city is benefiting from the sale of the West Golf Course and a free golf course nearby. And I sincerely believe we can do a joint venture where going forward, the city will participate financially on whatever is developed, but we have to collectively figure out what we're going to develop.
Well, that door swings both ways because you got a brand new golf course over there that we don't know what the financial arrangements are as far as the O&M for that facility. And before I would enter into any type of mutual agreement, I'd want to know what that cost of running that park over there and that we're that golf course and that we're not on the radar for some financial assistance.
Brianne, you had your hand up.
Yeah, our interest rate, am I muted? Sorry, our interest rate is 2.6,
Okay,
the bond that we got.
that's pretty good rate, I think.
And Commissioner Engel, you had your hand up.
Yeah. Do we really want to get involved at all in any respect with the city's new golf course? As far as I'm concerned, the city feels, the impression that I get anyway, is that the city feels that they can operate it. They have experience with Boca Muni. They're going to have a year to work out all the kinks. I'm fine with that. And how much it costs to operate for them, how much it costs to maintain, what the details are. I'm going to leave that up to the city. I don't think it should affect any participation they might want to have financially in the development of Ocean Breeze, whether it be as a park, whether it's for an executive course, a driving range, et cetera. I want their input. I think their input is essential, but I think it needs to be separate from whatever they do with the Boca Golf Course.
Thank you. Commissioner Rollins?
I just want to be clear, Steve, I wasn't inferring or suggesting that we in any way participate, but I was responding to Craig's comment about them having financial interest in the development of Ocean Breeze, meaning that that door could swing the other way. And I'm like you, I prefer not to have any financial investment in the new golf course, so that we can develop the projects that we have, like Field House at Sugar Sand, and some other areas. I want to develop our property before we think about helping in the development of other properties.
Agreed.
Madam Chair.
Just a second. Did you have your hand up, Commissioner Wright? Okay, Commissioner Ernst.
Look, the golf course out west is I think they're mutually exclusive. I don't think we should be evaluating participating or not participating, because it's not, they don't even have the course. There's a lot of things they have to work out. And who are we to deny district residents? You know, I think it'd be a shame if there's different tiered rates for city and district residents. We don't have to decide that right now. So the issue at hand is, what do we do with the Ocean Breeze property, with the community, with the city? And the immediate thing is, we have a proposal that is at the city waiting for their approval, and we need to withdraw it, because we are not intending to go forward with the golf course. And I don't think we're in a good financial position to buy out the city at this point in time. It would really drain our reserves to do so. So, like it or not, we need to decide with the city, what is the future use of Ocean Breeze, and how can we make it best for the whole community? And the steps in the process, to me, are very simple. Just a very simple amendment to the ILA with not trying to do anything else with the ILA. Anything else in the ILA may be adjusted at a different time through discussions. Don't know about that. I'm saying just we're giving ourselves more flexibility. And then we, with the city and the community, put a call for ideas out there. We get the needs assessment. It's another piece of information, all these things. And then we will come back together as our meetings, which we can plan with the city, however many we want, but we just have to start somewhere and get going with it.
Well, your first comment was to amend the current ILA of 2218 and suggest we look at golf or other options, which I like that wording very much. I think that doesn't handcuff us in any way, and it still leaves the time for us to get the community input. I'd like to throw something else out there. Do you think we should get the NGF involved at all for thinking about what we might do for the east side to see how financially?
I think it's open. You know, my suggestion would be is let's let it develop. It could be disc golf. It could be, I personally do like the short course and the driving range, but I think until we have a better conversation with the community and the city, we won't be able to, we should get everyone's input before we collectively make a decision.
I agree with you, but there are some limiting factors there as far as having an executive course versus a short course. Like Commissioner Rollins said, there just isn't enough land if Jeffrey Street is not abandoned that we can't do the executive course, the longer course that some of the golfers are asking for.
Well, it could be switched, you know, that now we're looking at a whole different, if our objective is to have a short course, then you could work with the city for different parcels to do that if that's what's needed. But I don't know, and I don't want to make that decision right now. My suggestion is let's step back, let's get all the ideas out there, and then we'll come back and say what makes the most sense. So if the
Would you like to
overall
make your
objective-
motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion. My motion is to amend the current interlocal agreement with the city of Boca Raton and the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park Districts to allow for other additional options. In there on page 3, it defines a championship golf course. That our intent is to develop that. Our intent now is I'd like to ask our council to modify that to include other recreational options. And if there's any other needs for amendments related to expanding it for other options, that he do so and give us guidance on how to, whether we should withdraw our current plans with the city.
Do I hear a second?
Mr. Rollins is.
Second.
Okay.
Was that you, Commissioner Wright?
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'd like to get some more discussion if that's your pleasure. Yes, Commissioner Rollins?
Yeah, this is a question for Jake. Clearly on this page, it says that the district to purchase the property from the seller for development of recreational and related facilities, where they have declared their intent to develop a championship golf course. Are those two mutually exclusive? And if so, they're in contradiction with each other. And I'm just wondering if we need to change this motion to input recreational and related facilities as a change to the ILA when it's already in there.
Madam Chair.
Please,
Can you hear me? Can you
Mr.
hear me?
Horowitz.
Thank you. Thank
You're a
you.
little fuzzy.
Okay, that better? That better? No?
No.
No. Okay, well, is that any better?
It's getting better.
A little better?
Yeah.
That's better.
Okay, there you go.
Don't
There
move.
you are.
To Commissioner Rollins' point, the ILA does contemplate a golf course, and it also references other recreational options in a number of different places. I wouldn't suggest that it's contradictory, but I would suggest that some cleanup would be warranted and would be necessary because it also delineates between what could be done on the east side and what can be done on the west side. We know that the design approval under the ILA is limited to the west side, that the ILA does not contemplate the district requesting design approval for the east side. There are several provisions of the ILA which do contemplate other recreational options, but as I recall, those provisions are limited to the west side. So I think as Commissioner Ernst is suggesting, some cleanup, if it were the will of this board, would be warranted to clarify that the intent or the objective of the district would be to use the property for a number of recreational purposes and not necessarily limited to golf.
Thank you, Mr. Horowitz. Does that answer your question, Mr. Rollins?
Yes, ma'am. I think some cleanup would definitely be in order and would support that motion.
Are there any other comments from the commissioners before I call the question?
And just one other point, in the spirit
Okay.
of cleanup, I think on page 10, maybe a little bit further on, 13, it talks about the district taking over city staff. Obviously, we're not going to do that. So, I mean, I just pointed out to Mr. Horowitz that he addresses it in the cleanup.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Page 13.
Yes, paragraph E.
Yeah, it continues on the next couple pages too. There's other things that.
Yeah, there are a number of provisions that contemplate the future operation of a golf course that we would need to address.
Yeah, but keep in mind, the intent of the motion is just to make it flexible for both parties to figure out what we're going to do down the road, not to make it any restrictive anyway.
Yes, Mr. Rollins.
Yeah, I want to make sure that in this cleanup process that we do our best to get be the one to approve the design because this a design approval being unreasonably withheld that wording is problematic has been demonstrated. And I think we should take that out and make sure that we do have the authority to make the decisions on what we do with that rather than having to wait for another approval body to give us the approval.
Mr. Horowitz, do you want to explain what you told me earlier before our meeting, how we could adjust that?
Yeah, I think what you're referring to is the distinction between the design approval for the west side, which is contemplated currently by the ILA, but the ILA does not contemplate the district requesting design approval for the east side. Now we know that under the proposed design, those two portions go hand in hand and they've all been submitted to the city for consideration, but the ILA only requires currently that the city provide for that approval on the west side. But again, as part of this revision and cleanup process, we would harmonize those two provisions consistent with the discussion this evening.
Well, I was thinking that, the 90, if we hadn't heard back from them in 90 days,
Sure.
would you like to
Sure.
address that, please?
And that was another option that we spoke about. To the extent that the district wanted to request some design approval from the city, we could add language in there suggesting that we would submit a design, provide some period of time, be it 90 days or 120 days, some period of time for the city to approve that design, and absent a response from the city, then the design would be deemed to be approved. So it would essentially compel the city to take some action, and in the event that the city took no action, that would warrant approval.
Thank you.
Could we include something to say for anything that we're building on, if it's that we can access the west side and make changes to the west side that will help us finish out the east side? I know there's this hang up about irrigation. So can we clarify, just put that in there too, that we can use the west side as needed to finish the east side out, I
Good
guess.
suggestion.
Yeah, if I may, Madam Chair, just ask a question about
Yes, sir.
process.
Yes.
Is the objective for us to go back and work with Brianne and provide an amendment to the ILA to bring back to this board for your collective consideration that would then be submitted to the city?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Maybe, I would rather we did not include an adjustment, but leave all the language east and west the way it is. I'm just saying, because we really want to do this together. And I understand the desire to move forward. We should still leave our flexibility. If we want to move forward on the east side, we can. But I think that what we really need to do is do it with the city, and the city should be contributing on the west side in some way or form, or it could be on the east side, I don't know. But until we develop a plan, then we will, I don't want to restrict this agreement any more than it already is. I'm just trying to loosen it up so that we can explore recreation and collectively decide within a reasonable time.
We still need the access from the west side to develop anything on the east side if we're going to irrigate it.
Absolutely, but we don't know what we're going to put on the east side, so.
I agree, but it would be good to know that we could have that access.
For irrigation.
Right, for irrigation purposes.
So if you want to, you're adding an irrigation clause. Is that what you're asking for?
I think that's reasonable. Anybody? Mr. Rollins?
Just a point of clarification. When we submitted the site plan for approval to the city, we did so on the basis that we agreed that we were going to move forward with the development of the golf course ourselves, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. I still want to have that degree of independence, and I don't want to leave it unsaid that I'm opposed to, without some dialogue, making a general agreement that we would work jointly with the city, because we haven't been able to do that in the past, and I don't want to handicap ourselves now to thinking that we might be able to do that in the future.
Thank you. Yes, Steve?
I want to go back to a point that Commissioner Rollins raised before about looking for outside financing. I know if I'm sitting on the city side of this desk and I have money, I have a financial stake, I'm going to want to have a say in what goes there. And the city apparently wants the final say. That whether they deserve it or not is discussion for another time. But the only way, in my opinion, that we'll get the opportunity to develop this on our own with the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District having the final say in what goes there, along with, of course, along with the community, is if we own it outright. And maybe we ought to take a serious look at refinancing. We're paying the city, what is it? I think $1.6 million every year, Brianne?
Correct.
Yes, we owe 16.4 million still.
Okay, so.
It wouldn't be refinancing necessarily because we can't refinance a bond that the city got, but we could just get our own financing and then pay it off to the city.
Right, well, that's what I was thinking about. So if we're paying $1.6 million already, whether we pay it to the city or we pay it to another financial stakeholder, in my mind, is immaterial. What concerns me is being able to develop this land with the Beach and Park District having the final decision on what kind of design goes there and how it goes there. I want the city's input, but we just saw, what are we looking at? A year with the city having the golf course design in their hands and doing nothing? Now, there could be a reason, could be because they were engaged in negotiations for Boca Country Club. But nonetheless, we're sitting there, you know, basically waiting on them. And they're not moving. I don't want to go through that again. Okay, I want their input. I think their input is important. Every bit as important as what we hear from the community. But if this is going to be our park, then I think we need to have the final say on what goes there. And the only way we can do that is if we own it outright.
What kind of closing costs would we be looking at for something like that?
Based on my, and I don't know if it relates properly, but closing costs usually run a point or so of the total financial package. That's my experience as a residential appraiser. So if we're looking at refinancing 16 million, we're probably looking at about another 1.7, I would guess. I'm not an expert in refinancing public property.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Ernst.
Look, any kind of debt refinancing still has to go through the city. So swapping it out doesn't change anything, and we certainly cannot financially afford to pay it. So look, I would go back to Steve. My comment to you would be that it's a two-way street. You're looking for, I go back to what Aaron said in one of our early city meetings. We're looking for money from the city to develop the park or to develop whatever it is. And so I'm not looking to put more money into this program until we all know what we're doing. And we really need to know what we are doing. And we lost value here. We lost value in two parts. One is when we bought this property, I was assured that there would be a hotel where the hotel was, and there can be. And guess what? You're not going to have a hotel anytime in the next 10 years. No new hotels are going in, and certainly not there. And then number two, we had the intent to have a profit-making entity there that was defeated by the city's gift, which was a good thing for the community. But bottom line is they're going to move their municipal golf over to Boca Country Club. And there is no opportunity for two municipal golf courses so close together. So we lost value. And I think it worked out best for the community. But now we have to kind of embrace our partner, the city. And honestly, I'm looking for the city to contribute significantly to whatever we collectively develop. And therefore, I'm just trying to get the amendment to pull out the golf part and focus on the recreation part, call for ideas with the community, and whatever that may be. It could be the NGF Foundation, could be Frisbee Golf, could be a number of things. But let's get those ideas all out there and pick the best of those ideas over the next 6 months. Come the summertime, we huddle again and decide where we're going with everything.
Can I correct you a little bit, though? You don't want to pull out golf entirely.
No.
Is that correct? Okay,
I'm
you just
leaving-
said that pull out golf, so I don't want to pull out golf
No,
entirely.
just make it more flexible is what I'm
Okay.
saying.
I agree.
One thing
Yes,
I'd like to
Steve?
correct on the, my estimation of the closing costs, I gave a 10% figure. A 1% figure would be in the neighborhood of $170,000. So there's just a small difference there.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
yes.
could you have the motion repeated that we're talking about?
Joanne, would you read the motion, please?
I was actually going to ask for some clarification, if you don't mind. It was kind of long there.
It was kind of hard.
I don't know, like to include what
Okay.
Steve said with the city of the district, if you don't mind repeating, Commissioner Ernst.
I'll give it a shot and then I'll
Please do.
refer to Chairwoman and Commissioner Rollins. I make a motion to amend the interlocal agreement between the city of Boca Raton and the Greater Boca Raton Parks and Beach and Park District, specifically allowing for it to modify the language and cleanup as it relates to golf and expand it to be in the new environment with the recreational facilities. And it should have some statement that whereas the city has purchased or is in agreement to accept a golf course nearby, we are looking to take this 212 acres and it may be golf, it may be other recreation, but we need time to evaluate it. Does that help?
Wow.
Wow. Did you get that, Joanne?
I'm working on it.
I should write these things out beforehand. I'm sorry.
Well, you did well on the fly.
Okay.
Okay? Commissioners, are you good with that, Commissioner Rollins?
Yeah, I would like to see the language cleaned up a bit, but I think it's comprehensive enough to cover the golf and recreational facilities that we want to place on the course. That was the objective of that motion, right, Craig?
Yeah, and Jake will draft it and we'll get to review it.
Okay, I'm happy to go along with the motion.
Okay, and we have it seconded, so I'm going to call the question. Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Ernst
Yes.
and Commissioner Engel,
Yes,
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes,
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Passes.
thank you. Okay. Our second order of regular business is the pickleball or RFP found on page 34 of your agenda packet. Melissa, you handled this for us very well. Are you on, Melissa?
I think she needs to be unmuted.
Oh, I took the hosting back from her and
Okay.
well, let me find her. Sorry. Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You got me?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, Commissioners, thank you. In your packet on page 34, I have a cover sheet and the information on the pickleball bids that were submitted. This is to convert 2 tennis courts at the Patch Reef Park Tennis Center into 6 pickleball courts. We received 2 bids, one from Armor Courts in the amount of $43,975 and one from Fast Dry Courts or FDC Courts at $36,500. As I mentioned, all turned in the required licenses and bid packet information. And it would be my recommendation that as the low bid, and I also did check references on both companies based on the references sheet. Both came back with stellar references. Both have worked for the district before and have done a fantastic job. Both have done work for the city before, and the city has no reservations with either company. And with that, I would recommend that we go with the low bidder of Fast Dry Courts for the work.
Thank you, Melissa. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions, or would you like to make a motion?
Madam Chair, it's a question for Melissa.
Okay.
The Armor Courts proposal outlined in 7 parts. Will the Bass Dry Courts do the exact same things for the same price?
Yes. What they have, well, what Armor Courts outlined is exactly what was in the RFP. And that is what Bass Dry Courts has committed to do and is what is in the RFP.
So Fast Dry is $7,475 less.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Rollins.
I would like to make a motion that we award the bid for the pickleball courts to Fast Dry Courts in the amount of $36,500 as per their bid.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. Any more discussion, commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Wright.
What was the time frame on it?
The time frame?
I'm sorry, I can't hear them for some reason, but
The time frame.
it'll wait. I can tell you without being in contact with the contractor, and I couldn't do that until we award it, is they told both of them, all of them, when they showed up for the pre-bid meeting, said that it took about 2 weeks to get on their schedule and that it would take about 6 weeks to complete. So the idea would be to award one tonight, and I will call them tomorrow, try to get the contract and everything done this week. And then it would be approximately, I'll ask them to get on the schedule, I can tell all of you, but we're talking about a total of approximately 8 weeks.
Okay. Did you hear her, Aaron?
So sometime in January, it'll be finished.
Should, about eight weeks.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none. Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, number 3 on your regular business on page 74 is the next schedule. Brianne?
Yes. Commissioners, on page 74 is the schedule for next year. I want to thank Joanne for helping put this together, really doing all of the work here. We had one brief conversation about September, made a few changes there. We typically meet on the first and third Mondays of every month. That month is a little bit off with holidays. We'll probably have some public hearings in there as well. So those dates will be the 13th and 27th, and the rest of the holidays are pretty standard. We'll move to Tuesdays when they fall on the Mondays.
You all did a very good job with this because it was a little challenging. Commissioners, do you have any questions for our staff about the schedules?
Yeah, Madam Chair, the only note I have is that Palm Break spring breaks for schools is that March 15th. This is a COVID environment, so I don't know that anyone's going anywhere, but just an observation.
Okay, I don't have my calendar right here.
We can
so-
move it to the 22nd if that's better. I mean, we have
Will we
March.
still be able to do distance or Zoom meetings if we're not available to come in?
Well, we'll have to have a quorum in public.
Right.
Well, 3 of us don't have kids in school, so that could work.
As it gets closer, we could also, if things, who knows what will happen in 2021, but we can also look at changing it, say February. We know that it's going to be a little different. We can advertise a different meeting date. Is that correct, Jacob?
It is.
Okay.
Do we need to have a motion, Madam Chairman, on this?
Yes, we do.
Thank
Please.
you.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the memorandum of the proposed schedule of district meetings and office closings for 2021 as outlined in the memorandum from Executive Director Harms.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Joanne, please do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Commissioner Ernst, it's time
Yes.
for the approval of payroll and invoices. If we could have a motion, please.
Yep, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for the approval of payroll and invoices for the amount of $25,309.15.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins. Discussion? Okay, Joanne, a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes,
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Volazek,
Yes,
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
thank you. Reports and discussion items. We'll start with our Executive Director, Breanne Harms.
Commissioners, just a few items tonight. The CRA public hearing is set for next week, so Jacob and I will be prepared for that on Tuesday. I haven't seen the council agenda yet, but I haven't heard any changes, so we should be on that for next week. Bids for the batting cages are due November 13th. We anticipate completing that set at Patch Reef in January 2021, and that will finalize all of the batting cages at the parks that we own. They will be all up to date and much safer for our residents. We've had some ongoing issues at Ocean Breeze with maintenance and things like that. And as I was talking to our chair earlier today, when we originally bought the property and we hired somebody to cut the grass, we anticipated building a golf course very quickly. And that didn't happen. So there's a lot of ongoing maintenance that hasn't been done there. We've been doing it here and there, spotty. What we're going to do is do a pretty detailed, thorough walkthrough and prepare a report of areas that are in complete disrepair that we probably need to address sooner than later. Do a walkthrough on the trees and do a tree survey and see what needs to be done there. A lot of these trees haven't been trimmed or cut back in years, and we need to address all those issues on the course for the residents that live around there. So we're going to do a thorough walkthrough tomorrow. We may need an additional day or two to finish it, and we'll get a report out to everybody so we can take a look at those things. Ocean Strand, the removal of invasives has begun. So we're actually going to have our photographer Chuck go out there tomorrow and get some photographs, and we can get those distributed to you all so you can see the progress happening. And I want to make sure that I say thank you to Jason and the staff here at Sugar Sand for helping us set up for tonight and obviously welcoming us in the middle of all this and really making sure we had everything we needed to have a successful hybrid meeting this evening. So thank you to Jason and his staff. He's back here somewhere, if I could get him. There he is. Thank you, Jason. And that was all of my reports tonight.
Thank you, Breanne. Mr. Horowitz, District Council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was going to mention the virtual quorum order that expired, which we already discussed. That item aside, I have nothing to report.
Okay. Well, it's good to see you, and
you as well. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Commissioners' reports. Let's start with Commissioner Wright.
I am unmuted. I have nothing.
Okay. Commissioner Engel.
ditto.
Okay. Commissioner Rollins.
Just one point to Breanne. Breanne, don't forget, we have property there at the entrance to Boca Chica, and I want to make sure that we do something to address that area. I know we've had a resident mention something about that. I'm not sure whether that's on the east or west side of 2nd Avenue, but I know that some of that's our responsibility. I think we need to, we had some discussion maybe 3 or 4 months ago regarding the utilities that FP&L put down through the middle of our properties on the east side at Ocean Breeze. And I think that they gave us a bid to put that property underground. Where did we leave that, Breanne?
We tabled it until we heard from the city.
Oh, okay. Well, there's no immediate hurry on that, but I think that if we're thinking about developing the east side, we need to be seriously considering putting those properties underground. And I think we really just need to stay on pressing for the closure of and the abandonment of Jeffrey Street going through there, because you really can't have a 4-lane highway going through that property and then have the public safely travel from the south end of the course to the north end to whatever facilities we put there. It would be just pretty cumbersome. And I know the mayor has said, you know, that he wouldn't support the abandonment, but we've heard from the railroad that they have no plans to put a crossing there, and to put one there, they have to close ones in another area. And I think that we'd be doing the residents a real favor if we were able to accomplish the abandonment of that road, so we don't have a racetrack going through there. Aaron and I use that to road, and they've gone so far as to put a electronic sign when you come down the hill that says, you know, you're going too fast. And I think those are effective, but once you get that opened up, it would be a real racetrack through there. And I think we need to really emphasize that it be in the best interest of the community that we have the city abandon that road. Other than that, it's nice being back in person with those of you who are here, Craig, Sue, Miss Aaron and Steve, miss seeing you in person, but we're getting through this pandemic all right, safely so. And I think, I know I greatly appreciate staff, Brianne, Melissa, and Joanne for the work that they're doing to get us through this and supporting our efforts to stay safe. So thank you, all three of you. Staff has done a wonderful job.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins. Mr. Ernst, it's your turn,
It's hard to follow someone so eloquent. So,
isn't it?
I share his, Bob's sentiment on that. Just one thing, over the past month, I've had the opportunity to visit a park a day, and many of them are city parks. And the one thing I would want to say is that Ocean Strand, in the 4 years' time, I was just amazed at how overgrown it's become. I mean, the vegetation really grows significantly, and that was evident with Ocean Strand. So it's quite an undertaking that's going there. One thing, and if it's not too late to consider, when we were looking at the road or the pathway to go through Ocean Strand, I know we've decided on an asphalt pathway, and maybe Brianne can elaborate on it. But when I was at Rutherford Park, which comes up on Lake Wyman, there's kind of a rubberized, natural look, more natural looking path. Is that an option, or is that a very expensive option? Or is it too late?
Well, it's a little bit too late because we started the plans. I think it's a much more costly. I know what you're talking about because I actually recommended Melissa go and run on that when she was wanting some softer material to run on. So the city did that as part of some investments or some improvements in that park, environmental improvements in that park. And it is really nice to run on. I don't know how accessible it is ADA wise. I think that you could utilize it. I'm just not sure how it would work with being in compliance with that, but we could certainly look into it.
I don't
Plans
wanna
have been
delay it.
submitted.
Yeah.
And it will definitely cost more than asphalt. They went with the most inexpensive option for that path that would be ADA compliant.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to try to use a walker on anything but asphalt because it's pretty challenging even with asphalt after I had my hip replaced, so.
Okay. Ignore it. Move forward. I don't want to delay Ocean Strand. Keep it going.
It is a nice pathway though.
I would suggest that we down the road, we look at some of the fitness facilities along the walking path. They are.
Maybe we can add a dual path later on in another phase of Ocean Strand.
Later. Yep.
Commissioner Wright?
Yeah, no, I run on that quite often, actually. And it is quite smooth. So I wouldn't rule it out completely. It is a really smooth surface. It's been there for years. It does get quite dirty, but I mean, you're walking on it with your feet anyway. You're not walking on your hands. But it is also permeable. So better for water and stuff like that. But it is, and I believe it might be recycled, not sure, which is also a good thing. So I wouldn't rule it out completely. I would take a look at it and see if it's something that we could do there.
Like as in a phase 2, or are you asking to hold the whole, like they were submitting plans to get permitted now for the project?
No, I mean, I wouldn't want to hold it up, but you know, if it's something that can be
It would
I
probably
mean-
cost, it will cost more than the asphalt. So
Right.
do you want to look at it as a phase two, like a dual pathway for different options for people sometime down the road, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hold it up and it's going to cost more, but those are the kinds of things we need to be incorporating into our parks versus, the
Yeah,
asphalt type thing.
I don't, when you say hold it up, I know they've designed it, they developed it, but is it that difficult for them to check the pricing on it?
I'll have them look at it and see if we can get a price by the next meeting and see the difference. Would that work?
Brianne, if you would,
Yes.
check the ADA requirements.
Yes, first.
And if it's, I'm not sure, I've seen the rubberized, but, I'm concerned about what Sue said with the walkers on that. Is it soft enough to where it would be a problem, Sue, using a walker?
I have not used it, but even using a walker on asphalt was a challenge if it wasn't just almost concrete smooth.
It's concrete smooth. The nice thing about it is it feels more environmentally suited for the area. And
I'll
so-
check the ADA compliance issues and then
Yeah.
if it's ADA compliant, we can look at the costs.
Yeah. Let
Although-
us know as soon as possible if we're going to make it, because I'd like to keep the process going, as
Yes.
Aaron said.
Yes. Anything else, Mr. Ernst?
No.
Okay, great. Well, I too would like to thank the staff for doing such a great job on the hybrid meeting, because Mr. Horowitz said that all the communities aren't running as smoothly as ours, and to thank our staff here at the Willow Theater. You've done a great job, and we really appreciate being able to meet in person. And I think what we'll do is we'll probably rotate. I think the chair should be here, but if anybody else would like to rotate, we'll make that determination as the meetings come up. As far as the future, Brianne, what are some of the future agenda items that we have on our list?
Well, we still have an outstanding RFP on the three corners of the golf course. And whether we want to look at it or dismiss it, I think the board needs to take some formal action to reject the bid or to entertain it. We can just do that at the next meeting. We had it was good for 90 days, I think, and we're pretty close within that window to take some action on it.
Okay. Is
Madam
there
Chair,
anything else? Yes, sir.
just a comment there, Brianne might incorporate that into their inspection, because you're looking at the property and give us some ideas about,
What we need to do there.
what we need to do there, that, because it does need to be cleaned up. But I think I'm looking forward to making some improvements there, since it may be a while before anything permanent goes in place there.
Okay.
And Brianne and Melissa, if you would please be careful when you're doing that inspection. There are all kinds of critters out there. Just watch your six.
She ran track, but I hope I can get at least in front of her first.
Okay.
Bring it back.
If you see a black cat with a white stripe down it, you go the other way.
There's coyotes out there, so be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are.
You guys are really selling me on this.
Yeah.
And coral snakes.
Yep.
Great.
Wear boots.
Are there any other agenda items?
We will probably have the batting cage RFP bids to look at as well for Patch Reef, so we can
Okay.
get that out there. And then hopefully we'll have something to bring back about the ILA at the next meeting.
Sounds good. Okay. Mr. Engel.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Joanne, a roll call vote, please. Joanne?
All right. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsong,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Good night,
You too.
everyone.
Good night.